Hello, everyone. I'm Harold Muliati, filling in for Rick, who is away at a conference. And
And I'm Geoff Blanchard, and we're here for Tech Down Over with a very special guest. Let's go. And we're back.
And today we've got YouTube filmmaker Sidney. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Try it.
Diongzon.
Yeah, pretty close. Diongzon. So
okay,
I kind of Americanized it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're both Filipino, so I don't have that much of an excuse to get it wrong. But
yeah. Hey, well, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. So before the show, we were talking a little bit about sort of YouTubers and the prospects for YouTubers in 2019 and going forward. And I suppose we could start off by asking, how do you think what do you think about YouTubers who want to get onto YouTube as a platform, like who haven't really started their channels yet, but here now in 2019 are just wanting to get started?
I think they should just start. I mean, I think there's a stigma that YouTube is too saturated, where there is so many photographer, filmmaker, tech reviewers out there. There's too many fashion bloggers out there. There's just too many of it, when it's actually quite the opposite. I read somewhere, I think it was Forbes or something like that, or maybe Money Magazine, that 20 million fresh eyes will be watching YouTube for the very first time in the next 2 to 3 years. That's a lot of people, and it's going to increase. The older kids get, the more access they'll have to watching YouTube, whether it's on mobile phones or on computers or whatnot. But there's always going to be a market for people to learn things on YouTube, whether it's photography, filmmaking, fashion, or even things like, how to fix a leaky pipe, under your sink, which I look up all the time. YouTube is like the greatest university out there. And so if anything, it is the best time to be on YouTube, especially the fact that there are resources out there telling people how to do YouTube and what kind of cameras to get and all this stuff. Like, what better time to get all this free information, all this value, and to create something for yourself, all for free. So it is the absolute best time, the golden age. We're about to enter the golden age of YouTube. And if there are people out there that think that they can do it, and you just got to start.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, and I think everybody's got something to contribute. And a lot of people are just worried about getting on there and making mistakes. But hey, some of the great YouTube videos I see are people who just don't know what they're doing, but it's just entertaining to see what they do. And let's face it, to get better, you've got to get out there in the first place to do it. So you've got to start somewhere. So
absolutely,
how did you get started into YouTube?
So I opened up my YouTube channel back in 2012, but for the same reason that I was talking about earlier, it took me 5 years to actually start making content. And so here I am, I have this open account that I made for free, right, ready to do it, but I was waiting. I wanted that first episode, that first vlog to be perfect, so much so that became my detriment, and it made me so fearful that it took me 5 years to have the guts to actually just make a video, accepting the fact that it's going to suck, or the next 10 to 100 videos are going to suck, but I would trust in myself that I would get better eventually. And and that's when 2016, I think that's when I started, committing, making a video once a week. And 200 videos later, here I am sitting at 70,000 subscribers, all because I just started. So now I'm regretting the fact that if I would have started back in 2012, where would I have been? You know what I mean? And so yeah, I mean, I'm such a perfectionist, but because of that, like I wasted 5 years of my life knowing what could have been if I had started in the first place.
Yeah, it's a bit like somebody said to me, don't be afraid to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And so most people take these way great shots and they have to have it in their video. But sometimes to make a story flow, you just put some of the rubbish in, which actually makes the story better than some of your better shots. So yeah, I was quite interested to see your video on the Arctic Circle. And I thought all that content, and did such a great video in 9 minutes. I thought, it's all that content. You've got the great essence of that. So that must have been hard to make it just 9 minutes. It looked like a fantastic trip.
Oh, thank you. It was an amazing trip, and it could have been like a full-on documentary if I wanted to. But yeah, it was. It's one of those things. The more you make films, the better you are at capturing or knowing. Oh yeah, this is going to be in the video, or this is going to be in the video, or putting all your favorite shots, knowing that that you're going to have to cut out your favorite scenes, and that's okay because certain pieces of content are going to be worth keeping to drive the story. And so you just get better, and you kind of become you get this intuition, knowing what you want, what kind of story you want in your film. And so yeah, I mean that was a great. And so that was that 9-minute video was just a very brief overview of what happened.
Yeah, so as I said, was it a great trip though? Did you enjoy every minute of it?
Oh my gosh, I was on absolute cloud nine. I mean, the fact that Mazda flew us out to Vancouver to take this epic road trip of a lifetime to the Arctic Ocean, like who does that? You know what I mean? And so to drive all that, it was like I think 3,000 kilometers to go up there to stand on this frozen ocean, literally on top of the world, was such a surreal experience. And I even FaceTimed my wife when I was standing on the ocean, and I'm like, I have a service.
I had to have laugh when you ran off the road, and I thought, you're not too sure. You don't have an Australian driving on snow going off the road. I'm sure she was Australian, and I thought we don't see snow, so I've never driven on snow in my life, so that would have been very scary for her to do that as well. So well,
she did great.
Yeah, that's good. So how did you decide as well what sort of equipment you was going to take for that?
Well, that was a problem. I knew because of experience that I should just take just be minimalistic and be simple in my selections as far as gear goes. Just my camera lens and mic. Honestly, that's what I probably should have taken. But I brought a gimbal, I brought lights, I brought a drone, which I'm glad I brought, and all these other things that made my backpack so much heavier when when traveling. Where I knew middle of the trip, I'm like, I knew it. I should have just trusted in my instinct and just picked up my camera, my mic, my drone, and that's it. That's all I could have brought.
Yeah, I think we all get that way, where we take all the equipment that we want and we end up using our main go-to, your main camera and your main microphone, and just about 3 little bits of equipment, but you just can't bear to be left just in case you did need it. And sometimes it comes in handy as well. And I saw with one of your video where you're doing the review for the A6500, is it? Or the Sony 6400, and you had it on the Zion gimbal, but then you said you took off I don't need the gimbal, I'll just do it freehand. Yeah,
exactly. And I think I think when it comes to that situation, it's cool to have all these these gears and all these fun toys to have, but at the end of the day, because we only had maybe 2 hours left to shoot on the island, I had to rely on my own devices, and knowing that I just need to, I know I can do this shot, I can fake a gimbal shot, or I know I can fake a sliding shot because I've done it before. I just need to do the shot, and if I'm fiddling around with a gimbal or whatever, I'm wasting 2-3 minutes trying to fix it when that's 2-3 minutes of content that I could have been capturing. And so, sometimes you just got to rely on your own body, your own instincts, and your own skills to capture a shot and tell the story, because time is always going to be our enemy as filmmakers.
Yeah, I was found wondering, that. Sorry.
I was wondering, in your videos where where you have yourself in the shot, are you also basically doing everything yourself, or do you tend to have people helping you? The one that comes to mind is the everything lit with one match video.
So all me. So 100% all me. Mainly because I don't have anyone here. Sometimes, some videos, if there's somebody that help me out, then I'll ask for help. But most times, 95% of the time, I just put it on sticks and I just film myself and hope for the best. But yeah, it's a one-man band right here.
Wow. I mean, how do you figure out the framing and stuff like that when you're Are you using monitors or like phone control or?
No, I kind of know. I'm familiar with how 24 millimeters looks on a full frame camera, and so I know about the distance I should be away from the camera.
Oh.
And also, as long as I look at the center of the lens, I know I'm in frame. I know there's a lot of people that say I need a flip out screen so I can compose myself, but honestly, you just have to look at the center of the lens, and you're going to be in the center of the frame. That's it. And so, obviously, that comes with experience. You know, kind of.
I'm hearing from that you've got quite a lot of practice doing that.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And that's how I was saying that your one match challenge with that one match. I notice you have the Hollywood match because it goes, it's one match for the whole thing, and then you went through hundreds of them to do. But I thought I was just noticing where it was banning the one match all the time.
You caught me. You caught me. Yep.
But the shot where you went between the serial and that, and you had the reflection, the silver foil on there to reflect from the match. It did quite a strange thing, and I bet you thought, gee, that was a great shot. But when you opened the door, it sort of flared back, and it gave such a great shot, on that. So it sort of the light reflected back and made the camera go dark all of a sudden, then light, and it came out really. I thought that's one of those things. I bet you didn't expect that to happen, but it just came out really nice, didn't it? So.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, sometimes you get great shots, and sometimes you come out with shots better than you thought. And so, fortunately, that turned out to be a lot better than I thought, considering it was lit with one match.
Yeah, extremely well. So, and as I said, one of the most important things with videos is the lighting and where you place it. And I just saw your latest video, like you said, you're keeping them rolling out with great content. Was the Aperture VM?
Aperture MW. MW. Yeah, that is
a couple of letters.
Yeah, that's a great light. Yeah, that was fun. That was a really fun project to do.
Yeah, and I thought I was thinking, oh, gee, that might be nice, but it's about a $600 light, isn't it? For you,
I think it's like I think it's a $250 light, if I'm not mistaken, something like that, $200-300.
I had a look and I thought it said $5.98 on American Amazon, and so unless that was converting into Australian, so hopefully, because I thought
maybe, I'm not sure. Yeah,
handy for me to have, but that's a handy little light to have, because such a powerful one, but in such a small case and waterproof as well.
That's the thing that intrigued me the most about it. That it's the fact that it was waterproof and really rugged. So, and I don't treat my gear very well, so I drop things all the time. And so to know that I have a light that's rugged, or even drop it, at the ocean or in bathwater or something, it's just nice to know that I got gear that does work. And so it's a great light. I really, really like it.
I know I was getting nervous watching you doing that review on the Sony 6400 again. I forget, because you was throwing it around that much. I thought,
it was.
My hat kept going. I thought, please stop doing that. So.
I made a couple people nervous. Like I was looking at the Sony reps, and I said, "Hey guys, you invited me on this trip." So.
Or you had that one with the 3 sigmas where at the end you have the case and you say, I shouldn't toss this, and you toss it up in there. Did you actually have the lenses in there?
I did. Okay. And the funny thing, so what's even a worse story. So I was working with Hasselblad to do a review on one of their X1D cameras, $10,000 camera, right? I did one of those things, those magicians where they try to pull the table cloth out of the table without knocking down objects. So I stack a bunch of boxes on a bar stool, mind you, and I put because I did a one take, and it kind of like barely tipped over, but it was totally fine. But it gave the Hasselblad guys a heart attack, and I'm pretty sure they won't work with me again.
Are they right there while you're doing it?
Oh no! Say okay. They were kind enough to send it out to me to review. Bad choice on their part, but I had pillows around. It was fine, just in case.
Yeah.
And I see where you had like most people had the Sony A7R Mark III, and then relinquished that to go to the A7 III. So how's the A7 III going for you?
I love it. I think it's great. I mean, honestly, I can't really tell the difference. The only difference I could tell is just, the photos. This A7R3 has a 42 megapixel sensor on it, and so you can really zoom in on the photo, like really close, and still get a printable image. Where the A7 III, you can zoom in, but probably not as much. But I don't do prints these days. I'm mainly posting social media, and so 24 megapixels cropped in to 10 megapixels, like it's more than enough, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought the A7 III seems to be the ideal one for most people. It's a bit deceiving by saying it's the basic one, isn't it? Because unless you need that, the extra for the photos, the A7 III seems to give everything it wants for you. And I was saying whether you did that Sony, the little one, the 6400, the built-in microphone seemed to be quite a lot improved from the previous ones. Mainly because they improved on the audio, so it's a different mic, but also they placed the mic in front of the camera so that it's facing whoever's vlogging instead of having it on top, which makes a lot of sense. And so I was quite impressed with how well the audio came out from the A6400. And honestly, it's a really, really good camera. Like, I know a lot of people are hating on it because there's no in-body image stabilization, but there are plenty of photographers out there, a lot of YouTubers out there that shoot with cameras that don't have stabilization, and they do just fine. But other than that, it is a great little camera, and probably the perfect entry-level camera for people starting out on YouTube. I honestly do get confused with the Sonys because I've lost track which one, because there's a 6500, 6400, 6300, 6700, and I think it's all the same sort of thing. And like the numbers, you would think higher is the better one. No, that's the later, or the 400s. Oh, I've lost track anyway. But they're all down.
I think we all have.
But the thing is, with most cameras, though, when you have another number, the other one isn't sold anymore, but there's still a lot of those other ones still being sold at the same time, which makes it confusing.
Yeah. But if anything, that's just more options for people to get whatever camera they want. Not everyone needs an A7 III. Some people are perfectly fine with an A6400 or even a Canon M50, without an external mic. And so I think there should be more celebration that the fact that there are so many options out there for us.
Yeah, and that's the good thing with Sony, whether you love it or hate it, is they do improve them. But some people say, I've just bought this one. Yeah, but I'd rather them, if they've got something new and improved, bring it out. But that does annoy some people sometime. But hey, if they've got something new to bring out, give us a new camera. More than happy with that.
Oh yeah, totally. And if anything, like no matter what kind of camera comes out, that should not be something that deters you away as a storyteller. I mean, I have the A7R III, which is the better camera for filmmaking and photography, but I chose the A7 III mainly because I wanted a camera that people connected with and people use. And so I could have been fine with the A7R III. I love my A7R III, it just made sense for me just to have something that people got so that I can relate to them and they can relate to me. Because I can shoot with the A7 III fine, I can shoot with the GH5 fine. I trust myself as a filmmaker and knowing what I can do with a camera versus what a camera can do for me. And my goal for my YouTube channel is to help put that perspective in motion. Yes, gear is great. I love gear. I'm passionate about like all the new tech. I just nerd out on that so much. But at the same time, like, just if you don't have any of that stuff, if you don't have the money to pay for a $10,000 camera, then use the camera you have right in front of you. Use a phone. Just rely on your storytelling skills first, and then get the gear. That's my theory.
Yes. My advice to most people is it doesn't matter what you're filming on, but also make sure if you can get your sound better, invest just that little bit in recording the sound better, because people don't notice that you're doing it on your iPhone or your greater camera, but they'll notice if you sound like you're talking in a tunnel or it's echoey. They really do appreciate good sound. So as I said, sometimes I can't tell if you just do it, that was filmed on an iPhone. Well, I didn't notice, I was listening to it really great. But like you said, don't stress out. Get something out there first, and then see whether you like it or not before you go and get too much gear. But anyway, we've said that I get a lot of gear which I don't need. I just want. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And I guess another thing is that you kind of, no matter what your tool is, the more you use it, the better you'll get to know it, and the more successful you'll be able to be just using it. If you're just using your phone, but all of the ins and outs of it, maybe different apps and stuff like that that you can use to slightly improve what your output is, then that you'll still end up with a better thing. And like you said, yeah, if you're putting your storytelling at the core of it, then that's important. Although, of course, with gear, there are always going to be cool things like with your the A7R3 you were talking about, and kind of just this current generation of full frame, like high resolution cameras. I just think it's so cool. It's like in the show CSI when they would do the zoom enhance thing, but you're actually doing it on a real picture nowadays, because they're like 43 megapixels or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good time to be a filmmaker. It's just you get free education on YouTube. You have advice on what kind of gear to get. You have influencers, giving out discounts to get gear to help people out. It's such a good time to be a filmmaker, and it just gives access to everybody as a story to tell.
And that's also another thing as well, Sidney, is people are happy to talk to people like yourself. You've got 70,000 subscribers. You're a busy man doing all this work, and you take your time out to speak to myself and Harold, and you do. And everybody speaks to everybody. And I can just take me back to about 20 years ago, where it would be so strange if I phoned up somebody, hey, could you talk to me on the phone for half an hour and tell me about what you do? People say you're weird. This is so strange. But now people are more than happy to do that, to share their craft. And so, as you said, I'm not showing anybody what I do. I want to be the best. But people are more than happy to share their tricks and techniques. So that's great.
It is great, and I grew up in a generation, because I went to film school, and I grew up just the norm of filmmakers will keep their best secrets to them, and they won't share it because those are the tricks of the trade, and you have to earn your way to do that. And I absolutely hated that. It just didn't make sense to me. It's like, here I am, I'm trying to grow. I know I have value as a storyteller. I want to make an impact in the industry, and I want to tell stories. Why can't you help me? And that YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, like Facebook, all these free platforms are available to us, took away the middleman and broke that corporate ladder, so to speak, and now gives access to everyone. More power shifting towards influencers and storytellers, making pro content. And I mean, I just saw a video where an influencer went to London to do some grand opening of a store, and like 8,000 people came to see this person. Like, this was bigger than, so it was immense. So this trend is only going to keep rising. And a good thing, because it's good to shake up the status quo every now and then. But more so, like, I love the fact that people, everyday normal people, just like you and me, now can have access to gear, to a platform that we can distribute content for free. That's more available to us, and I absolutely love that.
Well, yeah, and going a little bit back to like what you were saying about being able to learn what you need to about filmmaking pretty much free. I think that kind of that's extending to a lot of different fields. It's filmmakers. It's I think Sidney's feed might have frozen up. Is it showing that way for you, Geoff?
Yes, it is, but it has been for mine. Froze up a little bit a second ago, but Sidney's totally frozen now. Oh, yeah, I can hear him
a little bit there.
I can hear y'all.
Okay,
yeah.
He's back.
I think it's
but
coming.
yeah, whether it's filmmaking, whether it's photography, or just like painting or something like that, we're seeing a little bit of a dissolution of this idea that the artist is this kind of magician that hides all of the secrets, and people are just sharing their skills and their knowledge for free, and I think that's great.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Levi Allen, he's also a YouTuber. He says it best when life's better when you create things, and it is. And so when you create things, people get to see it and watch it, and they get to connect. They send you direct messages. They connect with you. You get to meet them eventually, and it just makes the world a smaller place. And it's a really beautiful thing.
Well, it's like you said, meet people. Like that's how I got to know Rick as well, because I met Rick through seeing one of his YouTubes. And so I watched a few things. Then we caught up at a conference in Orlando, and then I've been over and visited a few times. But we've been friends for nearly over 10 years now, just because of a YouTube video, a couple of YouTube videos he put out there.
That's amazing. And you know what? That's been, a thing. Like, I've met some of my closest friends because I've watched their YouTube stuff, and to meet them, in real life. And, they're some of my closest friends. And maybe a lot of it's because we have similar passions and we may feel like we've been cut from the same cloth. But the fact that you get to connect with people with similar interests on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, like all these kind of, it's really cool. It really is. And so, yeah, I mean, it's awesome. It's an awesome time.
Yeah. And as I said, there's always room for another one. I don't think it will ever get saturated, but what really does blow my mind about YouTube, I just wonder, how do they store all that things? There just must be this. There must be like they must have like something the size of the moon that just stores all this. Because I know myself, with just the video I take, you get terabytes and terabytes of it, and you don't get rid of it, you keep it. And I thought, that's just mine. What when you've got hundreds of millions of people doing that? I don't know how they do it.
Who knows how they harvest all their terabytes or petabytes of storage?
And that's what one of my advice to people when they're worried about doing any YouTubes or whatever. I say, well, if you don't mind people seeing it, it's a good way. If you do a video, put it up there, even if you don't let anybody see it. Because if you lose your footage, you've got that memory as well as that's another backup. So I said, you can even put it YouTube up, just leave it private or whatever. But most things people shoot, they're not that private that you don't mind people looking at it. It's, out and about doing things in the city or on a holiday or whatever. And it's not, people don't mind these days of showing themselves on a picture, whereas years ago they say, oh, don't put my picture up, and they'd shy away. But people are not quite as scared as cameras as they used to be.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to one thing you were saying a little bit earlier, Sidney, you were saying that, it just feels good to create. And the thing that made me think of was, back in the 70s, maybe even the 80s, then a lot of people would do things at homes, like they would, a lot of guys would do like woodworking or a little bit of machining or something at home, or working on their car. A lot of guys knew a little bit of mechanics. Nowadays, I think, it's kind of changed, because nowadays we live most of our lives in this kind of abstract digital space. The creating that we're doing is there. There's a lot more people that are doing making things like, making videos, working on games, that sort of thing in their free time instead. And it's interesting. It's people say that we don't get out enough nowadays, but I think we're taking in our free time, and or doing, if we're doing it as the main thing we do, we're just kind of taking our skills and applying it to the abstract digital space that consumes quite a lot of our lives nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it's communication. It's same thing. When we went from writing letters to calling each other on the telegraph. The internet or whatever. It's just another form of communication. And whether for better or for worse, I think is an amazing revolution that's happening right now, because you get to connect with it. It's I think it's a good thing. And I think with social media and the way we communicate, and even things like with streaming, I don't know, I think it opens up a lot of opportunities, and I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, but more as just connect with people. But I guess it's perspective. I think people will have different looks and takes on that. But from my point of view, I think it's a really cool I mean, I met my wife through YouTube. Funny enough. I mean, not directly. I was dancing to Single Ladies on stage. Don't ask me why. My friend puts it up on YouTube, and she sees it all the way in England. She's British. Fortunately, we have some mutual friends, and we got to connect. We chatted on Facebook for like 6 months, connected really well. We Skyped, did all that stuff, and 6 months later, I flew to London, Kissed her right away at the airport. 1 month later, I flew back and proposed. And so it was one of the greatest things of my life. And so it's just, again, it's another form of communication and connecting with people that you never thought you'd be able to connect, ever in your life.
Yeah. And I think, it lets you find people that have kind of similar interests to you really fast and, well, faster, or just people that you would never have found before without all of this new technology that we have nowadays.
Sure.
Think that with the how great it's getting, like traditional learning, like Rick and I are both involved in the e-learning business, trying to teach people to do things, and it's all down to video these days. That's the best medium. So there's lots of opportunities for people to get out there, do little videos, little training videos, because people don't want to sit down there traditionally. They want to watch a 5 or 10 minute YouTube of how to do it, and somebody actually doing it, not telling you how to do it on a flat bit of paper, but just showing you. And like you said before, anything you want to do on the if Rick was here, we'd tell you about a funny story when I visited Rick and we went through all his gear, and he had this 7-foot reflector, this great big 7-foot reflector, and the ones that you just twist and fold up into a little round circle. And there was these 2 grown men, took us 2 hours trying to figure out how to close it up. It would nearly get it would zoom out, and then we said we'll do YouTube this, and we YouTube this, and this 7-foot big reflector. There was this 4-year-old girl showing you how to, and we thought, and we did it the way she did it, and she taught us how to do it. And I said that just shows you how these two grown men couldn't figure this out. It kept exploding into there, and they said, "We'll show you how easy it is. I'll get my little daughter to show you." They did it, but as I said, there's a YouTube on everything. There's just
everything.
It's endless.
Everything. The best school ever.
Yeah.
So, Sidney, what's in the future for you? What's the main projects are you working on, or something exciting that you want to share with us before we?
Obviously, still producing content for YouTube, and keeping doing that. But also, it's I want to try to build a business on it, like an actual business. I'm not sure what that looks like, but who knows how long YouTube will be on. But to be able to build a business that kind of centers on what I do now, kind of helping people tell stories. I definitely want to see how that grows. I want to get more into speaking engagements. Been kind of doing a little more workshops, private workshops here and there, and just meeting with small pockets of people, asking questions like, what kind of camera should I get, or what's the difference between 24 frames a second and 60 frames a second, or how can I film this? Where do I start? Like, I love connecting with people like that, and so I hope to do more of that this year.
Yeah, great to hear. And I'll be watching YouTube for all and getting the pings for all the next new videos coming out. So thanks for all the great content.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure.
All right. Well, on that note, I think our time's about up. So, hey, thank you for coming on, Sidney. It's been a great talk.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on some other time too if you.
Let me know. I'll turn on the camera and I'll say hi.
All right.
Great.
All right. Well. Go ahead, Geoff.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's been a real pleasure to see you on here, Sidney. And like you were saying before, with the content that's out there, I will see so many YouTube videos and then I'm still amazed at the quality. Like, I hadn't seen much of you before Rick had mentioned about you, and I thought, how did I miss something as great as your videos? And that's the other thing, that sometimes you can't follow everybody, but you pick some people to follow. But there's so many great, but you do it with such an enthusiasm. That's one thing I love with yours as well, is
oh, cheers. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me.
so enthusiastic, and I'll just get caught up in the moment, and I thought, gee, I'm getting excited now but you just, the way you do that. So keep it up. It looks easy.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
To me, it looks very genuine anyway. So thanks again.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Hope to see you again in the future. So bye.
Likewise.
For now, Harold. And
all right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll link Sidney's channel in the description so you can check him out. And we'll see you next time on Tech Down Over.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Nice.
And we're back. Yes. Oh, thanks for that.